On the latest episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, we get a character introduction for our final first-year student, a battle between a cursed mannequin, and food, plenty of delicious food. All this and more starting right now.
東京都立だったらせめて自分が知ってる人くらいは
What is going on, guys? My name is DJ Milez, and I'm here to review another episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. This is episode 3 titled Girl of Steel. And before we begin with this episode review, if you can go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel for more anime content down the road. 3 episodes into this brand new series, and I am just oozing with so much positivity for this show. I just absolutely love how much life is breathing into this show with our character introductions, with our comedy, with the show's personality, and so much more. And while I'm watching this show, I just have to keep on watching the opening and the closing credits. And a lot of people did mention in the comment section down below that with the closing credits last week, they made it so groovy and upbeat because the show definitely gets into some heavy-handed, dark subjects. And I guess it's to be expected because, well, these students are dealing with cursed energy and, you know, exorcising demons and whatnot. And because of that, they have to constantly give us this dichotomy of slice of life. And it's very much appreciated because even with lesser cursed threats like this mannequin that we saw in episode 3, I'm still enjoying the humor that we got with our new character introduction of Kugisaki, which we'll talk about in a second, and the dynamic humor that I can only anticipate that we'll get with our 3 main protagonists of this show. And for people who watches my Noblesse reviews, I said the thing that's currently saving it for me is the slice of life, because the premise is, well, I don't know what the premise is. It's Dracula saving all of humanity against other monsters, and I think they play too much into the seriousness of what the show is. And with Jujutsu Kaisen, you also have the same premise of slaughtering monsters and whatever dark themes can come about with that subject. And they're like, well, hey, we're just gonna be so bombastic and out loud with our humor that you just can't help but laugh at. And when you see that moment between Itadori and Nobara celebrating that they're in the city, exploring what tasty, delectable treats there are, Gojo's like, oh yeah, let's go ahead right here first. And they're like, what? Are you kidding me? I came into a new city because I wanted to eat some desserts. Can you guys tell me in the comments down below what that dessert was? It was like a taco with some shell and some strawberries. I don't know. I'm posting it right here. If anyone can tell me what this is, I would greatly appreciate it. That looked amazing. I mean, it's already arguably said that the other main star besides our new character introduction of Nobara was the food in this show. Oh my god, the food looked absolutely delicious. Anyway, the focal point of this episode is our character introduction of Nobara, and she's teaming up with Itadori to take out this cursed mannequin inside this building. We get some more information about these curses from Gojo when he's talking to Fujigoro, telling him that curses are born from human minds, so their strength and numbers grow in proportion to the population. Again, I just feel like that is such amazing foreshadowing into what we are going to expect with these monsters. And we see in this episode in particularly how some of these monsters, even if they aren't necessarily strong, they do have some cunning wits with them. And as we saw in this episode, we saw that weak monster taking hostage of that child, holding it in front of Nobara, saying, hey, let go of all your stuff or I'll kill this kid. And she didn't know what to really do. And if we're getting this cunning and wit from a lower base monster, what are we going to expect with monsters that actually have high intellect? Anyway, Nobara stood out immediately because her abilities look like it's going to be dealing with nails and hammers, which, have you ever seen that before in shonen type battles? I've never seen that as a weapon. We usually get swords, we usually get daggers like Itadori has, and there's nothing wrong with that. But seeing an arsenal of weapons as a hammer and some nails stood out to me in a much appreciated way. On top of her abilities, also dealing with straw dolls, which I think is a nice theme fitting with the whole cursed demons and monsters and all that stuff, right? So that's very cool as well. And I like Nobara's personality. The moment she met our 2 other protagonists, she's like, oh my god, one looks like Potato Head and the other one only gives me his first name, so clearly he must think he's so high and mighty of himself. How did I get stuck with these 2 losers? And as I mentioned before, I can't wait to see the dynamic we're gonna get with these 3, because I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen took the best pages from previous shonen such as Naruto and even something as new as Demon Slayer, where they're like, this dynamic when it comes to shonen with a trio, with the father figure or a sensei, in this instance with Goju, I feel like this is going to give us enough emotional weight and so many opportunities to flesh out these three characters. And I think this is the magic number, right? You have three characters plus the sensei where we have enough to flesh them out. I hope I learned more about the resolve, their backstories, and what makes them tick. And with this episode, we saw a glimpse of why Nobara chose the route that she does of exercising demons and why it matters so much to her. Now, I could get this wrong, and now they could emphasize it more in episodes to come, but it seems like there was someone she looked up to, but maybe she had some aura around her that the people in her town did not like, so they venomously told her to leave town, and maybe that ultimately led to her death. And because of that, Nobara has something to prove, and that's why she left her small countryside home to go into the big city and attend Jujutsu Tech. So a few things I took away from this episode: people associate cemeteries with fear, so what are other things humans are going to associate fear with, and how are they going to bring that into this show? I want to know in the comments down below what other things humans associate with fear that could be an obstacle for our three main protagonists. The battle with the cursed mannequin also stood out to me as a highlight in this show, in addition to testing out our characters' resolve in terms of fighting the monsters in the first place, because Goju also mentioned that a lot of people, they have amazing abilities when they start exercising these demons and getting rid of them, but can they handle the one obvious factor that I just completely didn't even think about, is the grotesque fear and look of a monster. Are you okay with touching and killing something that looked as grotesque as a blob or a cursed mannequin or whatever wild imagination you think a monster is? It's so obvious to think about, but I like how this is another obstacle that these students and everyone else in Jujutsu Tech has to overcome: the grotesque fear and look of a monster. So something I just wanted to mention with that. And I also wanted to mention, I like the hip-hop track they played in the beginning of the show when they gave us the introduction of Nobara. And again, that also reinforces what I like in this show, is the dynamic that we are going to get with our three main protagonists. And let's go ahead and throw in Goju in there as well. What did you guys think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. I am having so much fun with Jujutsu Kaisen, and quite honestly, I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen is saving the fall anime lineup for me up until Attack on Titan, of course, comes out in December. But if you got some value and some entertainment from this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. My name is DJ Milez, and as I always say, to be continued, take care.